always cancel.
I already canceled responsibility for practice.
Okay.
So I'd much rather do that. Go home and do some grading and stuff.
When you pick them up, you see when you should bring them back to his nail clip,
Every 3 to 4 months.
and then they make a pumpkin.
Yep.
3 to 4 months
Oh,
seems like a long
he's
time.
also got 2 ear infections. So they're trying to put medicine in him so we don't have to give him medicine.
Poor guy.
Yeah, it's probably why he can't hear me when I'm calling him in. But he's just been ignoring, but
Did his ear infections?
yeah.
Wow.
He's got the double dose.
Poor guy. Poor Otto.
He's a baby.
What do I do for dinner?
I don't know.
Will we make something? No.
Sure. There's not much there though.
Okay. Is there red sauce?
Maybe. There's sausage in the freezer. Or
Oh,
there's
brats.
in the freezer.
They won't be from frozen in time though. If we take them out tonight, I can make them tomorrow.
Okay.
What else?
Just gotta make it through advisory. Just hate it when there's so much.
CJ shouldn't be over there. I think he got 12 or something. Then on a Friday, we broke the girl's backpack. They were fully fighting.
Play fighting.
I know. I know.
Alright, I have to get ready. I'm sorry.
You're fine, sweetheart.
I love you.
I love you too.
I'll text you about.
I'll answer in your voice.
Okay, thank you. Mom, I have to go get ready for class, my guy.
Alright, man.
Great to see you.
I'll see you
Okay,
later.
keep working hard, okay?
Alright.
You know that thing you said when you said it seems like things are starting to work my way.
Yeah?
You know, I'm a firm believer in that we make our own luck. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? Like you keep grinding and you keep working, and good things will happen to you. And
Yeah.
If you're a good person, it's even more likely. And I think you check all those boxes in my way. Keep it up, man. We're super proud of you.
Yeah,
Love you,
thank you.
sweetheart.
Good to see you. Bye.
Bye.
Yeah.
Good, now we got no pressure, so you take your time. No, if I get out of here, it just means I suspend kids, so we don't have to rush to do that.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh,
I know. It's a
hey,
different world.
you're going to a higher level.
I guess so. Really, it's just cleaning up messes at this level,
Well, I mean,
which I don't hate. It's never boring though, ever.
yeah, I mean, it's crazy dealing with kids now, but
It is, but their kids are just people. And people all basically want the same thing. Freedom
Right.
and their ability to have control of their own lives.
yeah, but there's something that taught us when I was getting ready to go out search for a job,
Mm-hmm.
and they said that there's a difference between the attitude and actions you do while you're at school or at work or somewhere professional,
Mm-hmm.
and things that you do while you're at home or just somewhere else.
Yeah.
And you have to keep those two things separate.
I think that can be true, but what I know of you, the way you act at home, if you acted like that at school or work, it wouldn't get you fired or kicked out.
Right.
You know? And like when I'm at my best, the way I act at home wouldn't get me fired either. I think people who struggle with positive personal dynamics, right? Like you are not lazy or you don't obfuscate your responsibility. You don't
Yeah.
blame other people at home or at school or work. I know that. So.
Right.
But you're right. There are other things. Sometimes I would let things go at work. I might not let go in my real life. You know.
Yeah, I mean, I guess being able to fool around and have fun sometimes makes work a little fun.
Yeah, you have to have a little bit. Not too much, but a little bit. I think
Yeah.
I probably went too far both ways before.
Yeah, when you go too far, it's sometimes hard to catch yourself.
It is. Definitely yes. Definitely yes. Okay, I don't need that. I do need this. I don't need this. 2, 3. Don't need that, don't need that, don't need this.
Man, tangled the mess.
You're okay. You have to plug her in.
Well, this is a microphone, and
Oh,
gotta make sure that it's good so I won't ruin anything. Gotta keep the audio on top notch.
okay. I can write you today. I can put you in today.
So would you say this is easier than teaching?
Oh, it is. It's the most fun I've ever had in the job. I have way more say over my own schedule. It's a lot of adults being upset, though. That part is not easier. I have to, that part is work for me.
Yeah, as long as nobody does anything stupid.
Yeah, but when does that happen? It's a lot of teaching adults. That's something that, I enjoy that part of it sometimes. When I have a bad day, it's almost always adult related, not kid related. But it's a fun job. It's a hard job. There's no end to anything, and nothing ever really gets all the way done.
Right.
And you're delivering bad news basically all the time. I got this phone thing where I call and I say, Mrs. Amable, he's okay. He's not hurt, but I have some news you're not gonna wanna hear.
You want the good news or the bad
Exactly,
news
and then we
first?
just wait for a second and then I say it.
Let that sink in.
Yeah, because usually they get a call from school and they're just worried somebody's hurt.
Oh no.
Yeah, that's almost always the first ear gasp. But it primes me for being ready for the other conversation because I can say they're not hurt. But they did.
There's something else here.
Yeah, something you don't want to hear that I'm gonna have to tell you.
Yeah.
That's okay though, because you can do it with dignity and kindness, and that's a blessing.
Yeah, I think depending on who you're talking to, the bad news won't hit as bad.
Oh, I agree.
Like some people just make it a little comfortable and just easy to talk about.
And that is such a big part of my job, is making it comfortable and making it okay to talk about.
Yeah, I mean you're just an amazing person to talk to in general.
Thank you for saying that. They don't always feel that when I call and tell them their kids vaping in the hallway or wherever.
Well, I mean, I feel like some parents, when you tell them that their kid did something, they're like, who? My kid?
I know, not my
Never.
kid, no. Or they think it's a statement on them being wrong or bad parents or bad people.
Right.
It's definitely not that. We hope kids make mistakes in high school. Better here than outside of here. Here we can teach them.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know why, but this is how I started seeing school once I started going to college. Once I started, going regularly every day, in my mind, I was like, college is pretty much like boot camp, military style. Because it's like what you will call hell week. It's
Finals.
yeah, it's there to literally challenge you to the max and
It is.
literally take out all the detox or all the defects.
It's supposed to be at its best, right? Like that's when school's at its best when it puts us in positions that challenge us. I would agree with you there.
Yeah,
But sometimes I don't know if we need to do everything that we say we have to do to learn it or to do it, right? Like I don't know I know that there's always room to improve. And so the idea that we've done everything possible or that the system is perfect,
nah.
yeah, that one I get a problem with, I have a hard time with, but that probably does not surprise you.
No, it's cause I've always told my friends at work, cause I've worked at my new job for a couple of years now.
Where is that?
over at Cheddar's.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so I've worked there for a while now, and every time I train somebody, I tell them that don't look at work as um, as you know as a challenge or something that needs to be complete, because when you're at work, there's never such a thing as there's no
Done.
more work,
Well, that's the
because
truth.
there's always work.
There is always work to be
If
done.
you say there's no work, it means you're not.
Yeah, if you got time to lean, you got time to clean.
It means you're not checking, you're not looking, you're not,
Yeah.
you putting in effort.
Oh man, I bet your bosses love that.
Well, see, I think you've noticed I've always been the a kid who's always loved school, who's always loved work.
Uh-huh.
So every time I manage to get my work done early, I always do the same thing I've always done before. I run up to my boss or my manager and be like, "Hey, you got any more work for me?"
Yeah, which makes them love you.
Because I'm just a person who doesn't like standing around doing nothing. My
No.
body just can't handle that.
No, you'll be bored. Life is too short to be bored, or can be too short to be bored.
Yeah, so I've I've always done that all my life, and actually I remember a time back in middle school.
Uh-huh.
One time I was in one of my math classes, and it was around at the end of the day when everybody were getting ready to go home. And when everybody stood up, getting ready to leave, I don't know why, but I stood up and I was like, "Hey, Mr. Miller, do we not have any homework
Oh,
today?"
the whole class go, oh.
They're like, "Come on, man, what are you doing?"
Yeah, but that's a skill
Yeah.
work world that's gonna go play well for you, go well for you.
Yeah.
What do you need
so,
from me? Do you need to plug in anywhere?
Nope, just my
Okay.
phone. Actually, you're probably gonna have to hold the other piece because my clip.
I'm
broke
happy to
off.
do whatever you want me to. 680,
Right.
8,
Alright, so this camera is on.
10.
Ooh, probably.
If someone knocks on our door during this, I'll have to get up and say something. I put the do not knock or the do not disturb, but without my secretary down here.
It's okay.
Sometimes they struggle.
You're the boss too.
Yeah, right. That's something I learned here, and definitely not the boss of anything in this job. Okay.
Is that okay?
Yep, I'm
if
ready.
You could plug this somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
It's
Yep.
definitely long enough.
Okay. I am going to plug in.
Alright, let me just go a little closer.
Yeah.
There you go.
Okay.
And then here's this for you.
Okay. Gotcha. So this interview, where's it gonna go? So I know my audience, who I'm speaking to.
Okay,
for
so this is mostly for me
Okay.
and my classmates.
Okay.
But if ever that I would like to ask is, like I said, I also run my own YouTube channel.
Uh-huh.
So if you don't.
No, you have my
mind-
permission, as long as I don't say anything crazy. You can use it wherever you see fit.
Sounds good. Because I remember one time I was making a video and I was telling stories about how awesome, how one day, I don't know if you remember, it was during summertime. I was out on the track and I was running and I just saw you on the bleachers and you were calling my name. I was like, oh, hey.
Yeah.
So when I heard you scream "Go Mavs," I was like, I don't know, you just gave me, motivation.
Oh, good. I'm glad.
I don't know, I always remember that day. I'm like, man, I wish I could relive that moment.
Oh, God. Well, look, I am always cheering for you. I'm always cheering for you. I am lucky to be a part of your story.
Right, let's see if we could get into this. All right, you ready?
I'm ready.
All right, the first question says, what leadership skills do you find most difficult?
That's a great question. What do I find most difficult? I'm new in my current position, so I have found it difficult to determine which of the many voices coming at me are the ones I should listen to, and how much should I listen to outside criticism versus how much do I listen to my internal compass. And so that's one right now that I'm working on finding the balance too. I think I swing too far one way and listen to other people too much. Now I think I'm swinging back to try to find a happy medium. It's hard.
Right.
That one is hard.
It's not easy because sometimes, well, I don't know, maybe it's just you're too kind. Because you try to help everybody and
Yeah.
you end up with too many things on your plate.
You know, you knew me as a teacher. And so right now you're a young adult. And so in my adult world, right, I worry that my identity as a woman and a young administrator socializes me to not have enough belief in kind of myself,
Right.
you know, and so that's something I'm working on, is to try to figure out. And to be transparent, so I have a reading writing disability, and as an adult, I've found that the way my brain has adapted, I address problems different than the traditional model. And I've really struggled with being different. It sounds awesome. Like being different and special sounds awesome, but for me, it can really wear on me to always be the non-traditional voice. So that's something I'm struggling with too, is like how much do I need to get in line with what's happening, and how much do I highlight my other way of thinking? It's hard.
Yeah, I mean, you can always give your opinions about, your beliefs and your opinions, but I feel like somebody is always going to have something to say
They are.
against it.
Yeah.
But all that matters is that your own voice comes out on top.
That's the thing though, is that I'm finding like people I respect and appreciate for one aspect of their job, I would not want to mirror the way they do another part of their job. And so pulling
Right.
apart, like, I like the way this person does this, I want to emulate that, and that's absolutely not the way I would handle something. It's hard. It's very
Yeah.
hard.
Definitely is. Let's see, question number 2 says, how do you describe your leadership style?
I would call myself a servant leader, so I like to learn by serving others. I like to lead
Right.
by serving others. I believe in this practice called restorative practices, which is this idea about pulling people back into the community and dividing the deed from the doer. So I can really dislike the actions and the thing you've done, and I'm going to talk to you about that. I'm going to certain consequences about that. We're going to work on that. But I believe you have to divide that from who someone is as a person. So I'd say servant leadership, leaning on restorative practices. And I really like to find simple solutions that answer more than one problem. In education, we just stack up programs and ideas and strategies, and most of them are really well-meaning and most of them are based in research, but we get so many that I like to find a solution that fixes like 4 problems instead of 4 different solutions for one problem.
Right.
But so that's it. And honestly, I'm still figuring it out, kind of. My other big leadership role before I became assistant principal was I was the leader or the chair of our bargaining committee for teachers. So I would go and negotiate a teacher contract on behalf of them to our district. So I found in that my voice to speak truth to power.
Right.
That I need to work on how to speak truth to people who used to be my peers. It's really like how to teach them to change their behaviors to do what's best for kids without isolating that. I used to do that with students, right? Like teach them how to do what's best for them without isolating them. So now it's teachers. So still trying to find it out. I think that's kind of part of it, is that to be a leader, you have to constantly be evolving and growing and demonstrating what you want from the people you're leading, and to be constantly learning. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I've heard from someone who said that the best, a good leader is a person who knows when it's a good time to lead,
Mhm.
but also knows when it's a good time to step down and let
Mhm.
someone else lead, or or step down and watch
Yeah.
and view everything from other people's perspective.
Yeah, sometimes it's about facilitating the work, so being not results driven, like we have to get this project done. That's important. But in leadership, sometimes it's about the journey and highlighting people and their ability to get to that point instead of just going the quickest way. Sometimes you miss the teaching and capacity building. It's
Right.
interesting.
Yeah, it is. It's like a maze.
It is like a maze.
All right, and question number three says, how do you make how do you make sure projects or uh, how do you make sure that projects or tasks or stay on, well, basically on their main goal? Like,
Hmm. So I keep a calendar, a pretty serious schedule, and
right,
I like to plan things out, so I try to think about them in stages. Uh, in education, that's had this idea of backward design. So the way you design your lesson is you get the standard, what you want the person to know, and you work backwards from that. So that's what I try to do with big projects. Like, what do we want to have happen? And then stepping backwards, what are all the steps to make that happen? Something I want to include more in my process is gathering others' voices in projects.
right.
It can be really hard to do that and stay on a timeline. And so I find that to be a really delicate balance. It's how do you include others and stay on track? It's hard.
Yeah. How do you find goals make you a better leader?
I think setting personal goals is really important. I'm in a spot now where there are three other people that do my job in my community, my school community.
Right,
And I've found goals most useful when they are centered to what's important to me and what I need to get done versus when they are about comparing myself to my peers. Because while we have the same job, we definitely don't have all the same approaches.
right.
And I think if we were even said your goal is blank, we would all have different reasons and different understandings of what that means. So I don't know. That's the thing. You said it's amazing. It is. It's a constant system of taking in information, trying a new strategy, modifying, taking information, right? And this, it's the data cycle. Except in leadership, you do
Right.
it all the time, constantly.
Yeah, it's hard for some people to think about because basically you never really know what someone is going through unless you're
No.
actually living it yourself. So these leadership scales are basically things that kind of shape up your world.
They shape
And
up your world and how you interact with the world, right? Like how you treat other people. If you enter it thinking
right,
that everyone's going through something and you don't know it versus my task is this, very different.
yeah, because for example, if you're a leader and you have people who follow your example, um, you have to make sure that you you obviously show your leadership skill. You show that you're the one in charge, but at the same time, don't seem like you're entitled to
Yeah,
something because you have to also show them that you're not just a leader, but you're also like their friend. Make them feel comfortable
yeah.
with your decisions and your opinions.
Restorative practice has this mechanism. It's called the three E's. So first, you engage all the stakeholders. So if I'm going to make a decision, I want to engage the people around me to see what their opinions are.
Right.
And then there's explanation. So like how you, as the leader, in your position of power, make this decision, the why. I think a lot of people get stuck with, I shouldn't have to explain myself in the why, but the why is where the teaching happens. So
Right.
restorative practice says, engage your stakeholders, explain your decision as a leader, and then the last one is expectation clarity. So if this does not happen, this is what happens next. When I'm giving discipline, it really helps. So I talk to the student about what happened, the family what happened, the teacher what happened. I make a decision based as the leader in this group, and then this is what's gonna happen if we don't do it. That way, everybody affected by it already knows what's gonna happen, so they feel comfortable. They have heard why I made my decision, and they had their chance to give feedback. Those restorative practices is pretty powerful, and those 3 E's, when I get cross with people who I'm giving or trying to lead, usually happens when I haven't done one of those 3 things. Gathered information, explained why, and says what happens if it happens again or doesn't happen.
Right.
Yeah.
So I guess the next question that I could ask you is how do you handle disagreements between your team, between the people you work with or you work for?
So I went to a leadership retreat 2 weeks ago in the wilderness. So we were like outdoor, kind of people from all over the state, and I really needed it because I was feeling like it wasn't being impactful. And I reflected from that experience, Mobley, and this is what I learned, is that when you have a hard time making decisions on your team, usually it's because you don't have a set structure to make decisions, right? Like, I don't need everyone to agree with me,
Right.
but I do need to have an agreed upon system for how we're going to decide as a team that includes a mechanism for me to say my piece. And so I was really frustrated and fearful that I wasn't leading well and or making the impact that I felt like I needed to. But when I went to this retreat and I reflected outside my group and realized all we really need is a structure to make a decision,
Right.
it's really helped since we've been back. So we use Robin's Rules of Order, which is like parliamentary order. But at least now, where I found myself frustrated before was where I felt like I wasn't heard and decisions were made I had to support where my feedback wasn't taken into account. So having a structure like Robin's Rule of Order, so like a call to vote, does anybody want to say anything? And then we vote, has allowed and created a space for me to
Right.
say that, for us to have a disagreement, for it to be settled. It goes in line with those same 3 E's from restorative practices, right? Like engage. So all of us at the table engage. We make a decision based on these rules, and then we know what's going to happen next. So that has helped me feel. I haven't felt frustrated since I got back, since we started using that. Not because everything's gone my way,
Right.
but because I knew what to expect. I knew there'd be space for me to say my piece. And I could be assured by our structure that there are enough people on the team that think this is the right thing to do, that I've been outvoted, and I need to just go with it. So I think decision-making structures are imperative to having an impactful leader. And we humans can shy away from that because there is a level of perceived confrontation or conflict in that decision-making process. But it's safe, contained, everyone knows the rules, and that conflict's gonna happen either way. Let's do it in a safe, structured way so we can move past it and not have it be a personal cut, kind of. So I think that is, decision-making structure has freed me